Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Abby. I apologize today for how awesome I sound. Let's
She's
just
got
say
the Phoebe cold voice.
yeah. Let's just
Deep
say
and
my
sexy.
children are just so generous during this holiday season. But yeah, I this has been a week of this, so it's been fun,
So much fun.
It's I don't know what celestial timing it is that my kids, my oldest two, got it first and like kind of staggered a little bit. And then they got better. And then me and my husband and my baby got it while they have full energy and they're feeling okay. And they're like, let's go do all this stuff. Let's go to the park. And I'm like, I'm like, that's not fair. But I apologize to everyone out there for just sounding so beautiful and healthy.
You are beautiful.
And yeah,
I know. I was editing our last episode and there was a lot of sniffs, and I'm like, do I take the time and effort to edit that out?
I know.
We
I
did
will
say
try
we
to,
were sick, but
yeah, I will try to mute myself if I have like a severe coughing attack or something.
yeah.
But I was just telling Ashley before the episode that I swear every time I have the worst coughing attacks is when I'm trying to put my baby down for a nap or to sleep, and I'm trying to like rock him to sleep, and I'm like holding it in, just like, I love you so much that I'm not gonna try to wake you up, but I'm dying. And it's like,
Right.
real life.
We've all been
The
there.
sacrifice of a mother.
Oh yeah. So, how much do you remember of last week?
I remember my brain's been foggy all week.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see.
Sure.
Didn't we talk about the men's migration?
We did. Finrod Felagund met the first house of men to come into Beleriand. Do you remember what they were called?
Men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. That's whenever you say that, they're like something of men. I get that song stuck in my head.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
You're like the migration of men. I'm like, migration of men. Hallelujah. Yeah, I get it stuck in my head. But
I cannot think like Aragorn dancing to that. Like
that's the song they were singing when Finrod found them.
Yes. Do you remember what that house was called though? It sounds like your favorite Hobbit character from the movie or the book or both. One of the favorites, I guess. Begins with a B.
Oh, it's not Beorn, but it's
correct.
But it's
Beor.
like Beorn.
It's just Beor.
Huh?
It's just Beor. No N.
I thought you meant Hobbit character, like an actual Hobbit.
Oh, I know. That's why I said that funny, huh?
I was like,
sorry.
Bilbo's cool, I guess. Like in the Hobbit itself, but
so yeah, the first one was the House of Beor.
And then there was two others, but they weren't.
Yes.
They were like not necessarily leaders, right? They were just like.
So one had a leader, the House of Marak, and then the other one didn't really have a leader, and they're called the Halidin.
A free people. Kind of.
And
I didn't vote for you.
And they would become elf friends. Do you remember the elvish name for the elf friends? It sounds like Dunedain.
And wasn't it like just the end of that word? Adine?
Yeah. Edine.
So, they migrated and they kind of like went 3 different ways, right? And one of them was like a um not a refuge, but kind of like a camp
Yeah,
area,
the man
and
camp.
their main camp where it was kind of like, okay, we're okay here. No one's gonna really bother us. There isn't the King Thingol who's like grumpy that we're nearby, and
Right.
there's like um no elf territories that we're like trespassing on. And didn't he like give them this land, or did they find it on their own?
They found it, and it technically was the youngest sons of Fëanor, the twins, Amrod and Amras. It was their lands, but I don't think they, youngest siblings don't really have a choice. And
Yeah.
sometimes,
They're like, yeah, you get
um,
to go over there. They're like, oh,
yeah.
but that's mine. And they're like, yeah, no, you're gonna go over there.
And that settlement, that man camp, was called Estolad.
Okay.
And
And
then
that
the
and that's where
Halidin
like
were
most
in,
of them stayed, right?
right, except for the Halidin. The Halidin usually stayed in Caranthir's land until they got attacked by orcs. And we
Okay.
got to meet our
Bummer.
awesome Bad A woman, Halith.
Oh yeah. And she was like, I'm gonna take care of my people. And then like she
Yes.
fought oh awesome, and then she like moved them, but then she like didn't ask for directions at all, and then got went through some really awful places.
The Valley of Dreadful Death.
Yes.
uh,
Um
And then they settle in the forest of Brethel near King Thingol's territory. And then he doesn't really like that. But then he's like, well, I guess if you just promise to not let any orcs get by you, we're okay.
you're my human shield.
You're my human shield. Um, so then we have the name change of everyone. The House of Bayor stays the same. They're very intelligent, dark hair, gray eyes, very compassionate, kind of more the Aragorn vibe. The House of Hador, Hodor, probably. There were strong, blonde hair, blue eyes, quick to anger and laughter, kind of like Viking Rohan vibes. And
Uh-huh.
then the House of Haleth, more woodland folk. They were kind of shorter in stature, like to keep to themselves, kind of a hobbit vibe, but we figured out that it was actually kind of impossible for them to be descendants of that. But I still think somehow someone figure it out how it happened.
Maybe. I mean, putting the show to the side, like the Rings of Power show to the side, maybe they taught their ways to the hobbits. The hobbits like
Oh,
maybe stumbled upon them, or they like kind of coexisted, and then they like
I like
shared
that.
their knowledge and their like livelihood of how they went day to day lives. You know what I mean? Maybe they did that.
Yes, I like that. I like that. So we have these three houses, and within these three houses, most of the men kind of uh, would spread out and would be kind of in service of a prince of the Noldor or elf or someone. They kind of answered to someone and kind of swore loyalty and were kind of their liege lord kind of a thing. So like
Uh
they
huh.
served them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about all that happened. Oh, and then the descendants of these main groups, especially the Hador and the Bayor houses, are going to be very, very big characters later on.
Okay.
Okay, you
But
ready?
we have to keep in
Oh,
mind
okay.
that when we talk about elf characters
Yes.
and men characters, that like we
Yes.
have to be like, okay, this elf character has lived the lifespan of like 4 generations of this this like
Right. Yeah.
men line. So
Right.
like we'll go through characters, men characters a lot faster. So I feel like we have
Oh,
to
yeah.
keep up with like, okay, and then this is actually the descendant of this because he's like it's been like 400 years, and
Yeah. We are gonna have a bit of that today.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to
Yeah.
put that out there that people
Yep.
remember it's not all happening in
Yes.
like one like close
Generation.
timeline. It's
Yeah.
like generations, and the elf characters can stay the same, which is
Right.
awesome, but
Crazy.
like kind of confusing. But
Yes, that's a
when
very
we
good
have
point,
to
Abby.
differentiate, like, hey, this is like the great grandson of so and
Right.
so.
Thank you. Yes, good reminder. Okay. So, you know who we haven't talked about in a while? Among our Noldor princes and elves, we haven't talked
Uh,
about the second son of Finwë, half brother of the late Feanor, crosser of the Helcarax, king of the Noldor. Do you know who I'm talking about?
uh no. Wait, I know who it is, but I can't remember his name. Is it start with an F?
It does. That narrows it down.
Finn
Yeah, and
Golfin.
that's the other Finn. That's the other one. Could be many things from there.
Finn Golfin.
Yes, good job.
Yay!
Yeah. Remember those were the three kind of main princes of the Noldor. We had Fëanor, Fingolfin, and Finarfin.
Oh, I
Fëanor,
wouldn't remember Finn or Finn, but
right? No one remembers Finarfin because he
oh,
stayed in
oh,
Valinor, but his children are important because that would be Finrod and Galadriel, uh, Aegnor, another one, and Orodreth. Aegnor and
that one guy.
Ingrod and Aegnor. Sorry. Ingrod and Aegnor. Sorry, they have such weird names. So, Fingolfin, he's still up in northwest Beleriand. Before this episode started, I had you pull up a map, and I will repost this with the release of this episode so that it's kind of fresh on the Instagram feed. But if you look at your map
I
of
see it.
Beleriand, yep, he's in like he's the Washington. He's in the far northwest.
Yes.
Um, and this is kind of where they landed when they first came across the Hellcarax and came into Beleriand. They have just kind of stayed there. And you'll notice it's actually pretty close to Morgoth's front door there.
Yes.
And it has been quite some time since the Noldor have fought with Morgoth. Fingolfin's people have only multiplied, and now they have lots of allies with the coming of men. Morgoth has actually been awfully quiet, and Fingolfin's thinking, he can only be up to no good. So he's thinking, we have more people now, and now might be a good time to strike before Morgoth really, gets up to something.
Uh-huh.
However, most of the Noldor weren't very eager to go back to war. They had their own lands mostly away from Morgoth. They had had peace for a long time. They're comfortable. I'm not sure if I want to poke that hornet's nest. And the only ones who agreed with Fingolfin that, now is the time to strike was Ingrod and Aegnor, who we just talked about was the two sons of Finarfin. And if you'll look at the map, they're the ones that are kind of closest to Morgoth. They're the ones that are actually like having this constant reminder that, oh yeah, our worst enemy's over there.
Yeah.
And I imagine they're like seeing smoke every day or hearing, blood curdling cries.
Screaming.
And yeah. So they're just constantly being reminded that Morgoth's still here. But, people further south, they're not reminded of that. And they're just like, life's great here. What are you talking about?
This is my island in the sun. Yeah.
Ay!
Yeah.
I love you. And, not even the usual bloodthirsty sons of Fëanor want to go to war. So Fingolfin was immediately shot down. No one went to war.
He didn't have that spirit about him like Feanor did to like
Right,
rally people.
right, exactly. And unfortunately, this would be quite a costly mistake.
Ooh.
So at this time, it's been about 455 years since Fingolfin arrived in Middle-earth, since they crossed the Hellcrux and they landed.
Dang.
And
Okay.
yeah. And now, quote, the evil befell that he, Fingolfin, had long dreaded, and yet more dire and sudden than his darkest fear. For Morgoth had long prepared his force in secret, while ever the malice of his heart grew greater, and his hatred of the Noldor more bitter. And he desired not only to end his foes, but to destroy also and defile the lands that they had taken and made fair.
So he was just up there scheming and
Always
planning
scheming. Always
and
scheming and plotting and planning.
just like letting that hatred just like spoil everything, like
Mm-hmm.
rotting it out, and then he's just getting more and more grumpy. And Fingolfin
Mm-hmm.
is the only one who's like, I kind of feel like it's like you know what it's like?
What is it like?
It's like when you're this isn't applicable to everybody, but when you're a parent and you have young children.
Toddler meltdown?
No.
Oh,
When you're doing
okay.
something and you're like, "Wait a minute. My toddler has been really quiet for too long. I'm really scared what is going on when I find them and what kind of mess they've made or
Mm-hmm.
something has gone wrong." And that silence, you're like, "Oh, it's nice in here. Wait a minute." And then that dread, the like
Yes.
ice in your veins, and you're like, "Oh no." And then you like have to
Yes.
run and find
Mm-hmm.
whatever horrible thing you're probably gonna find. You know what? And it doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes they're fell asleep or they're angels or something. But probably most of
Uh,
the time they're getting into something they weren't supposed to. So that's
yeah.
that feeling where
Uh,
Fingolfin's like, wait a minute. It's been too quiet. Something's
yes.
wrong.
Yes. Lizzie did that just the other day, and I found out that she had not stolen, taken a bunch of cookies that I had made and like hid them in her room. So like not quite like so bad, but still like, come on, man. Like,
You thought you could get away with it. My favorite is when they leave like an obvious trail of stuff and you're
yes.
like, you're not that sneaky. Like, um, but that's the vibe I'm getting is
Yes,
like he's like,
very
I'm
much
just
so.
gonna stay over here and let people
And this
forget.
and everyone else is like your husband, like, it's probably fine. They're fine.
Yeah,
They're
or like
they're just
your friend
playing.
who doesn't have kids and they're like, "Oh, aren't why
Yes.
aren't you enjoying like your quiet, peaceful house?" I'm like, "No, you don't understand." Um, but like Morgoth is like, I'm gonna just chill out for a second. To the outsider's perspective, that's what I'm
Right.
doing. I'm not doing anything, but I'm just like regrouping and just like kind of fueling the fires every day
Mhm.
of hatred and everything to like
Feeling the
gather all
fire.
my strength and my army and like not let a whisper of it out that anything's going wrong, and then everyone else, like all the other elves and all the men or whatever, are gonna get too comfortable. They're just gonna be too set in their ways of like everything's fine. Like,
Everything is awesome.
yeah. um Kind of like, I mean, again, Rings of Power spoiler. In the beginning, in the first episode, when
Yes.
they were all like awful to Galadriel, and they're like, "No, it's all done. Like, stop saying there's like bad things out there. We're done. We finished. We won. Blah blah blah." She's just like, "No, like there's still stuff out there," and they're like, "No, everything's
Crazy
fine."
lady.
Like,
Yeah.
um,
Girl, you be tripping.
yeah. Why are you acting so cray cray? Um, so I that's I know.
Yes.
I've been in situations like not this extreme, but kind of like, guys, like believe me. And they're like, no, it's fine. Just, you know, you're being crazy, you're being dramatic.
Oh boy.
The
Yeah. And
drama.
they really should have listened to Fingolfin because, yeah, Morgoth wasn't just up there in Angband knitting. He had been very busy. And the
Also knitting.
first, also knitting, yes. And
I've
the
made hats
first,
for everyone. It's cold up here.
it is cold up there. The
The
first
balrogs
place,
have scarves.
oh my gosh.
And
No, that's he made their ribbons, their ribbon
yeah,
dancing thing.
no, he has little horn warmers, like little like hats
Yes.
for their horns.
I love it. So, the first place that he is going to strike is a place called Ardgallen, or the Green Region. And if you'll refer to your map, it's this kind of it looks different on other maps, but I just liked that it was literally labeled Ardgallen so nicely right there. Um, but in the other maps, it's basically like right above Angrod and Agnor right there. And it's what separates uh, Morgoth from their lands. And it's just this like kind of green valley, flat, nothing really is there. And it's just what separates them from Morgoth.
Okay.
And it's often patrolled by the Noldor. I'm not sure if Angrod and Agnor are the only ones guarding it. That's kind of their job, being right next to it. But things have been quiet for some time, so there weren't really like a ton of elves on like high alert. So,
Yeah, they're like staffing is down.
right. So let's set the scene. It's nighttime. Tilion, our moon guy, must not have been doing his job again because it's a moonless night, but it is a clear night and the stars are shining. We're in the north, so it's pretty cold, and the watchfires of the patrols are burning low. There's only a few people awake at this time. Quote, then suddenly, Morgoth sent forth great rivers of flame that ran down swifter than balrogs from Thangorodrim and poured over all the plain. And the mountains belched forth fires of many poisonous hues, and the fume of them stank upon the air and was deadly. Thus Ardgallen perished, and fire devoured its grasses, and it became a burned and desolate waste, full of a choking dust, barren and lifeless. Many of
Like
the Noldor perished in that burning, who were caught by the running flame that could not fly to the hills, and the smoke wrought confusion among the defenders. Thus began the fourth of the great battles, Dagor Bragolok, the Battle of Sudden Flame.
whoa. It's like a fire
Whoa.
hurricane.
Yes. Uh,
So, so he burned there wasn't anybody really living there. He just like burned the empty spot and kind of like the border of the
yeah.
okay. So in my mind, is that kind of like the scene in the Rings of Power where just like that
Yes.
giant huge wall of like flaming dusty ashy
Yes.
thing
That
and
is
it looks like
very much. I do literally think that they picked this particular scene in the book and was like, you know what? We should redo that.
yeah.
And it's
But
cool that we actually got to see it.
and it looks so desolate and just so like um depressing at the and
Mm-hmm.
if you want a good visual of this, please watch the show, like the Rings of Power show when that scene happens because like the aftermath of it of like
I think it's like episode 6, maybe.
yeah, like the coloring of everything is like
Yes.
so bleak and so depressing and just like you can actually like kind of feel like that would be hard to breathe in, like everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. But um so he just kind of like burned like the watch elves, like the like
Yeah.
border patrol.
Because it's something it's kind of hard to see there, but Dorthonion, the land where Ingrod and Agnor are, you might remember from our map episode, it's literally called like an area with highlands, and that's
Oh,
because it's not quite to the Gondolin proportions where it's literally surrounded by like these huge mountains, but it's surrounded by highlands. So if you were on the other side of these highlands in Ardgallen, it'd be
Okay.
hard to run away because you'd be running up a hill.
Oh
So you could
no.
see these like poor people running, trying to run away. But
But they
have you ever
basically
tried
got
to?
like cornered.
Exactly.
Sad.
So sad. Like, have you ever
What a
tried
way to
running up like a
go.
sand dune? Like, that's
Oh
what I
man,
imagine in
even
my
as an
brain.
elf, they couldn't do it.
Yeah. So, yeah, quite devastating. And it would later be said that, as always, Morgoth was a little hasty. If he had just waited a little longer, it doesn't explain what could have happened if he had waited a little longer, like what would have made the difference. But the power of this assault could have completely wiped out everyone and everything. I'm not sure what would have been the difference, like more power, more magic, more gunpowder. I don't know like what could have been the different deciding factor in that, but apparently Morgoth was just a little too hasty. So it only did some of the damage,
Oh, he wasn't
but still
fully
pretty damaging.
fueled. His health bar
Yeah,
wasn't full. Um,
exactly.
so it just happened. It wasn't like he had the balrogs just like messing everything up or like the dragons like spraying fire, whatever. It was just like he commanded fire to just appear and blow everything away.
Yeah, it doesn't explain that, unfortunately.
Oh.
Because I mean, he does have a lot of power. And in the past, he has literally like made mountain or not mountain rivers of flame. In the past, they talk about that. But how? No idea.
Huh.
Yeah,
Maybe it is like a power bar thing where like he can only use his special move once.
yeah. I really do think that. But after this sudden flame of earth and mountains, Morgoth sends in his armies. And in the very front of his army was Glaurung, the father of dragons, who we met before as a baby, but he is not a baby anymore. He had grown
He
into
grown
his
up.
full might. He grew up.
He's a
And
man now.
behind Glaurung were balrogs. And behind them,
I'm
armies of
sorry.
orcs.
That has to be the most epic opening of a battle
Yeah.
of just like
Uh-huh.
fire hurricane and then you open it and then like the dust kind of settles and you just see like the shadow silhouette of a giant freaking dragon and then like
Mm-hmm.
you can see the lit up bodies of balrogs behind it. Oh my gosh. What
And then
the
these armies of
somebody
orcs
has someone
behind
painted
them.
that? What is that
Oh,
called?
there's
What is that
paintings
battle
out there.
called?
I will be posting all of the photos of this. But the orc armies that were behind the balrogs were in, quote, in multitudes such as the Noldor had never before seen or imagined.
Ew, they were just multiplying up there? Gross.
Yeah. So many orcs, and this terrifying and monstrous army just killed everything in their path. Noldor, Sindar, and men.
Just fighting over they weren't really in Middle Earth, they were just in the like empty area or were they like in people's territories?
They spread out from there.
Okay.
This war never completely stopped, but the quote onslaught of Morgoth grew less. I imagine it became kind of more spread out by the time spring came, which I theorize is because it would be sunny. Orcs can't do sun.
Mm. Can dragons
So,
do sun?
can Balrogs do sun? That's my question.
Hmm.
Yeah. We'll
I
never
don't
know.
know. I've only seen
Yeah.
them in dark, scary places.
Right? Any forces of elves that remained after this direct onslaught were severely weakened, if not completely scattered. Most of the
Oh.
Sindar, remember the Sindar are the gray elves that had stayed in Middle Earth,
Uh-huh.
they had either fled to the south and avoided the war, Others took sanctuary in King Thingol's realm in Doriath and were protected by Melian's magic girdle. And the rest were just completely scattered and found refuge wherever they could.
So Thingol didn't want to help at all?
He didn't fight. He just hid behind the magic girdle.
Mm.
He did take people in.
Okay.
Only Sindar, though.
Oh.
Of course.
I need to see some ID. No, sorry.
Let's have some blood typing.
Yeah,
Prove it. Prove it.
Yeah. Let me see your ears. Show me your ears.
To pass my my magic girdle, you have to answer me these questions 3.
Yeah.
What is my favorite color?
Yeah. Yeah. What song did I sing you on your? Did you sing me on my
your
birthday? Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Dang it!
So sadly, some of the first to fall in this battle were Angrod and Angnor.
No.
They died. They were on the front lines, literally in the line of fire, and they died first. Also, a man by the name of Bregolas, not
what?
Legolas, Bregolas.
Oh my gosh.
Which you laugh, but it's supposed to mean fierceness. But yeah, I can't help but giggle.
Greg. Greg.
No, it's Brett, but the B.
Oh, I thought you said Greg. I was like, his name is Bregolas? Like, what a dumb man name. His name's Greg.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Bregolas.
Okay.
The Lord of the House of Beor. It's the
fantasy version of Greg. Breg.
Yes. Stop it. I can't take it. I'm old Gregolas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. It's like that meme with like, we are strong. Like, I can see me like, we are strong. We are immortal elves. And then there's Breg. That guy.
I'm old Greg.
With his polos. His khakis.
Okay. So Angrod and Angnor, you'll remember, are of the House of Finarfin, who is also Finrod. Member of the House of Beor, swore loyalty to the House of Finarfin. So it makes sense that Bregolas was fighting with Angrod and Angnor.
Okay.
Because same house. So sadly, he also died.
So they're kind of like staying up. They're not going south. They're just like staying up where Angrod and Angnor was. Like, they're not moving down. They're just okay.
So Angrod, Angnor, and Bregolas are dead. However, Bregolas's brother, Barahir, Barahir, Barahir. He happened to be fighting further west. And, quote, there King Finrod Felagund was cut off from his people and surrounded with small company, and he would have been slain or taken. But Barahir came up with the bravest of his men and rescued him, and made a wall of spears about him, and they cut their way out of the battle with great loss.
Aw, he saved him.
He saved him. So Finrod managed to escape to his fortress of Nargothrond, but in return for saving his life, Finrod, quote, swore an oath of abiding friendship and aid in every need to Barahir and all his kin. And in token of his vow, he gave to Barahir his ring.
Oh. So who gave him his ring?
Finrod gave Barahir his ring. Now, Barahir literally means fiery lord. Not a magic necklace, no. But this ring is very important. So, with Barahir's brother now gone, Barahir is now the lord of the House of Beor. Now, like I said, this ring is very important throughout the history of Middle-earth. It actually lasts a long time. In fact, we have actually seen this ring before. It is described as, quote, two serpents beneath a crown of flowers, upheld by one of the serpents and devoured by the other. The serpents on the ring were crafted with eyes of emerald, and the crown of flowers was formed from gold. Sound
Okay.
familiar?
So,
I don't want to give too much away, but we have seen this ring before.
okay. Because I have two guesses.
Okay.
My first guess is the ring Gandalf wears.
No.
That's my first guess.
The ring that Gandalf wears is the third ring of the elves.
Mm-hmm.
So no, that wasn't made yet.
Okay, because if it's Aragorn's ring,
It is.
it's vastly different in the movies. And that's what
No,
I'm thinking of.
it's the two serpents. Remember when Wormtongue is describing them? Like he wore a
Okay.
ring. Two serpents under a crown of flowers, the other one eating the other, eyes of emerald.
Oh,
This
okay. For some
is
reason I thought it looked a little different. But yes, that was my second thing was
yeah.
Aragorn's ring.
So this will eventually be Aragorn's ring. It goes through quite a journey to get there, but
I
it's
wonder what the
cool that
I wonder what
this is how it happened.
the and who did he give it to? What was the guy's name?
Barahir.
Mm. So I wonder what the significance of the snakes are, but yeah.
It doesn't explain that, unfortunately. And I tried to look into that a little bit. Too I didn't delve too greedily or too deep, but it just said that Finrod had brought this ring with him from Valinor. That's all it really said.
Oh,
But yeah,
interesting.
serpents, elves, not quite. Yeah,
Yeah, I
um,
didn't maybe he really loves serpents. I don't know.
maybe we'll get to the ring later, because it's gonna be passed down. Obviously, it has quite a ways to go. But back to the story. So Fingolfin and Fingon, his son, being close to the borders of Morgoth's lands, were attacked, and Hodor, the golden hair of the House of Hodor, obviously, he was still fighting for Fingolfin at the age of 66, and he died along with his son Gundor. I'm sorry, that's a funny name.
Gundor. Sorry, this
Gundor.
was awesome.
Yes. Now, Fingolfin's territory, with the help of his allies, and also it had kind of a mountainous terrain. There was literally a range of mountains between him and the fire. So they didn't quite get the fire on their side, but the orcs came there, unfortunately. Um, so it remained undefiled by the fire and the fumes and stuff, but they did have to fight off some orcs. But
I feel like
because
orcs are pretty like easy to
pawns, yeah.
compared to like a balrog or
But
a
think of the
dragon.
amount of orcs there were. Remember, there were
Mm,
so many orcs.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
they
Okay.
managed to fight the orcs off, though. But it really bugs Morgoth that this area that Fingolfin lives in is left unconquered. It's right on Morgoth's doorstep, but fortunately for Morgoth, Fingolfin was actually cut off from the rest of the Noldor by, quote, a sea of foes. So they couldn't go anywhere to help anyone. They're stuck there. And that's kind of why Aegnor and Ingrod died, is because they were cut off from everyone else. And
Oh
they were also in
no.
the direct line of fire.
Oh no.
Now, you might be wondering how the sons of Fëanor fared in this battle. Well, if
Mm,
we go to the other side of Beleriand, Celegorm and Curufin are kind of next in the map. Uh,
okay.
they were attacked pretty quickly, and although they fought really hard, they were forced to retreat somehow all the way to Nargothrond, which is Finrod's territory.
Dang.
Don't know how they went that far, but yeah. So they retreat all the way to Nargothrond, and Finrod Felagund, of course, friend to everyone, takes them in.
Yeah.
Maedhros, on the other hand, Ha ha ha. Quote, quote, Maedhros did deeds of surpassing valor, and the orcs fled before his face. For since his torment on Thangorodrim, his spirit burned like a white fire within, and he was as one that returns from the dead.
Epic.
Epic. But also terrifying. Like,
yeah.
what does that face look like? Do I want to know, or will it haunt my dreams forever?
Do you think it's kind of like how Galadriel looked when she turns all dark? Like,
okay, so you went there. I went Anakin when he's literally still on fire.
oh.
That's where my brain went.
I mean,
I went
both are not
horrifying.
great.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
So,
Anakin, like when he's like turning evil, you know?
right. Yeah.
Like,
That too. Yeah. Before the younglings. The
no,
younglings. Okay.
no.
Anyways. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So Maedhros, he managed to hold off the orcs from his hill of Himring. Remember, that's his like throne
Uh-huh.
house kingdom thing.
His crib.
His crib. And many of the elves in the surrounding areas actually joined forces with him, and they were able to stop the orcs from going further south from that point. However, Glaurung, the dragon, managed to join with these orcs, and with the help of a dragon, they were actually able to find another way south. So, if we refer to our little map here, we have Maedhros, and they're able to kind of go around him a little bit further east, and they're going to go down Maglor's Gap. And unfortunately, Maglor could not fight them off. And he
Because it's a
actually
freaking dragon.
it's a freaking dragon. And he actually retreats to join up with Maedhros on his hill. So this
Oh.
allows Glaurung and the orcs to ravage their way further south to Caranthir, being the next in the line. Caranthir manages to flee, but instead of going to Maedhros, he goes to his brothers Amrod and Amras, which are right there. Then,
Uh-huh.
all three brothers, Caranthir, Amrod, and Amras, and all their people were forced to retreat further south, almost to Osiriand, where the Green Elves are. Here they joined forces with the Green Elves, and they managed to keep the orcs going further south.
Okay. I mean, the orcs and the dragon got pretty far.
Right. So, capping where we left off everyone. So, Fingolfin managed to fight off the orcs from Hithlum, his area in the northwest. Fingon
Uh-huh.
survived as well, possibly fighting with his dad, like side by side, doesn't exactly say, but that's what I imagine. Turgon is hidden away in his city of Gondolin, although you might be wondering if they could have heard or seen anything, but I don't know how high those
The
mountains
people are like,
are.
what's that screaming out there? It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Maybe they have a noise canceling
They have white
mountain
noise
range.
playing everywhere.
Yeah. Finrod almost died, but was saved by Barahir of the House of Beor and is now hiding in his fortress of Nargothrond. Angrod and Aegnor, unfortunately, were literally in the line of fire and are now dead. Maedhros managed to kick... Barbecued. Maedhros managed to kick butt and kept his hill safe, but the orcs did manage to get by him to attack Maglor. Maglor retreated and joined up with Maedhros on his hill. Curufin and Celegorm had to retreat all the way to Nargothrond and are now hiding there with Finrod. And Caranthir, Amrod, and Amras joined up with the Green Elves and are keeping the orcs out of Osiriand. Thingol and Melian took in a lot of the Sindar elves behind the Girdle of Melian and are protected there. That's kind of where all of our main characters are at the moment.
Dang.
Yes. Now, obviously, a lot of bad stuff has happened. Not only to the landscape of Beleriand, I mean, that whole Ardgallan Valley is now just Mordor, basically.
Barren and
yeah,
burnt and smelly.
Yes. And we'll get back to that land next episode, but just landscape ruined. Um, Elves and men, a lot of them have died, including two of our main characters.
Oh,
Yeah. Now, Fingolfin, remember, he's the king of the Noldor. He's supposed to be in charge of everyone. And he's just getting reports from all over Beleriand on what is happening. And he is just devastated. He sees this as the, quote, utter ruin of the Noldor, defeat beyond redress of all of their houses.
so is there no way to contact the Valar of being like, hey, like, this isn't Feanor's doing. This is Morgoth, the guys you also hate.
Right. Um, they don't do that. I will say next episode we do get an Ulmo mention, but yeah, as far as the Valar are concerned, they're on their own.
Oh no.
And Fingolfin, this whole defeat just fills him with wrath, despair. He is angry, so much so that he mounts his horse and rides off, all by himself.
You know,
And
it's got to be a mixture of I told you so, no one believed
yes,
me,
yes,
and I am so devastated by all this death of all my friends and family.
yeah. Quote, and none might restrain him. He passed like a wind amid the dust, and all that beheld his onset fled in amaze, thinking that Arome, remember Arome is the hunter, himself was come. For a great madness of rage was upon him, so that his eyes shone like the eyes of the Valar. Thus he came alone to Angband's gates, and he sounded his horn, and smote once more upon the brazen doors, and challenged Morgoth to come forth to single combat. And Morgoth came.
But he's just one guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Now, so you remember when Fingolfin first came to Middle Earth, he actually did literally knock on the doors of Angband, and no one answered. Do you remember that? When they're like, hello?
Yeah. Open the door, you coward.
Yeah. So that's why it says once more.
He knocks on the door, and then like a little buzzer sounds. He's like, hello, can I help you? He's like, oh, I'm here to fight Morgoth. He's like, ooh, he's actually not taking any visitors today, but
He's in a meeting.
he's in a meeting. I'm gonna set you up with the manager here. So you could talk to him.
Lovely guy by the name of Sauron. Not sure if you heard
Yeah.
of him. So he's not really fighting his own battles. With the Valar, he used Ungoliant, the spider. With Fëanor, he sent in the balrogs. With the elves, he sent in his baby dragon.
Okay,
With the
but just so
men,
funny
he sends his
because
orcs.
he showed he has immense power. Like he
Yeah,
basically blew up a whole land. But then
right.
he's like, is it like you're too weak and pitiful? Like you're no challenge to me. Like I don't feel
Possibly,
it's not worth it to like waste my time when I can just crush
possibly,
you.
but I also think it's his personality to control and command things. He likes others to do his dirty work. And also,
He's like
remember,
mafia or something.
yeah, after his near-death experience with Ungoliant and his ongoing wearing of the Silmaril crown, he's actually grown a lot weaker. He is not quite the Valar he once was. And kind of like
Mm.
you're using this analogy of the power meter, he might have used up all of his power causing the flame, so he might be weaker even than normal.
So he's hiding. He's like, no, I
He's,
can't fight him.
but this one time, he actually does come out and he passes through the doors of Angband. And I like to imagine here that like it's gonna tell it in a bit, and I don't want to ruin the quote, but he has to come out from like his basically his throne is in the basement of Angband, so it takes him a while to get up there.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Yeah.
be there in a minute.
Yeah. That's so many stairs. I really gotta get an elevator in this thing.
Okay, so I'm going to use a lot of quotes here just because Tolkien wrote this just so good. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready?
Or is it like when Willy Wonka comes out and he's like limping and then he does a somersault and he's like, ta-da! It's me!
Oh my gosh. Willy Wonka as, no, Melkor Morgoth as Willy Wonka. Because he even has orcs and Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he
Someone
kills
please draw that.
children.
He kills children.
And he probably sings songs about it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we need to stop this or we'll never stop. Okay, are you
Okay.
ready? This is a really epic scene. We have to be serious.
Okay.
Serious face. Okay, okay, you ready? Quote, "It is said that he, Morgoth, took not the challenge willingly, for though his might was greatest of all things in this world, alone of the Valar he knew fear. But he could not now deny the challenge before the face of his captains, for the rocks sang with the shrill music of Fingolfin's horn, and his voice came keen and clear down into the depths of Angband. And Fingolfin named Morgoth Craven and Lord of Slaves. Therefore,
Oh.
Morgoth came, climbing slowly from his subterranean throne, and the rumor of his feet was like thunder underground."
Epic.
Epic. Okay, continuing. "And he issued forth clad in black armor, and he stood before the king like a tower, iron crowned, and his vast shield cast a shadow over him like a storm cloud."
Ooh. Little intimidating.
Yes. "But Fingolfin gleamed beneath it as a star, for his mail was overlaid with silver, and his blue shield was set with crystals, and he drew his sword Ringil that glittered like ice."
Beautiful.
Then Morgoth hurled aloft Grond, the hammer of the underworld, and swung it down like a bolt of thunder. But Fingolfin sprang aside, and Grond rent a mighty pit in the earth, whence smoke and fire darted.
Dang. He literally
Many
made a crater.
He literally made a crater, yeah. Many times Morgoth essayed to smite him, and each time Fingolfin leaped away, as lightning shoots from under a dark cloud. And he wounded Morgoth with 7 wounds, and 7 times Morgoth gave a cry of anguish, whereat the hosts of Angband fell upon their faces in dismay, and the cries echoed in the Northlands.
They were like, ooh, Master's getting hurt. That doesn't sound good for us.
Yes. But at the last, the king grew weary, the king being Fingolfin, and Morgoth bore down his shield upon him. Thrice he was crushed to his knees, and thrice arose again and bore up his broken shield and stricken helm.
Ugh.
But the earth was all rent and pitted about him, and he stumbled and fell backward before the feet of Morgoth. And Morgoth set his left foot upon his neck, and the weight of it was like a fallen hill. Yet, with his last and desperate stroke, Fingolfin hewed the foot with Ringil his sword, and the blood gushed forth black and smoking, and filled the pits of Grond.
Ugh.
Thus died Fingolfin, High King of the Noldor, most proud and valiant of the elven kings of old. The orcs made no boast of that duel at the gate, neither do the elves sing of it, for their sorrow is too deep.
Ugh. Wow.
Yeah.
That was a very epic fight.
Right?
I want to see that. I want
Right?
to see that happening.
Now,
I want to see his
remember that,
glittering
right?
sword and his crystal shield and like his super shiny armor against like
Versus this
Morgoth's
dark
like dark, like
tower mountain.
oily, greasy looking armor, you know?
Yes.
Like tar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
he
now remember,
tried.
he tried so hard.
And now
Remember
Morgoth's
that
gonna have a peg leg.
Fingolfin? He has a peg leg now. Yeah. Uh, Now, remember that Fingolfin had gone completely by himself. It's kind of hard to believe that no one at least tried to follow him or stop him, but he was by himself. So, how did the other Noldor find out what happened to him?
Yeah.
Well, Thorondor, the king of the Eagles, who previously saved our boy Maedhros, apparently
Uh-huh.
he was there and he saw the whole thing. And he was able to tell everyone what happened. And just after Fingolfin died, Morgoth actually took his body and, quote, broke it. And he was about
Oh.
to, quote, cast it to his wolves. But
Oh.
luckily, Thorondor came down, scratched the heck out of Morgoth's face, took Fingolfin's body, and flew away.
Wow. I want to
I
see
know.
that. A giant eagle, like,
Yeah.
attacking a person.
And what is Morgoth doing? Like, because all the
You're like,
feathers.
is it like the scene in Elf when the raccoon, like, comes and, like, jumps in his face?
Yes, exactly that. So Thorondor takes Fingolfin's body up to a mountaintop that happened to be visible from the hidden city of Gondolin. And after telling Turgon, remember Turgon is Fingolfin's son, what had happened, Turgon built a cairn, which is basically like a grave site where you just put like stacked stones on top.
Uh-huh.
He built a cairn over his father. After the duel was over, the last wound Fingolfin gave Morgoth to his foot caused him to limp from that day onwards, and the, quote, pain of his wounds could not be healed. And the scratching that Thorondor gave him left him with scars all over his face.
Yeah. Deserves
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Now he looks even more like a villain.
Right? So that's actually where I'm going to leave you today. On that
Wow.
very
That
sad
was
note.
epic.
Right?
What an epic battle. And I'm sad. I
I was
hate
like
when
almost in
characters,
tears at the like epicness and the like
him trying so hard and being like,
yeah.
you're not gonna hurt anyone else. None of
Yeah.
my family and friends are gonna die. I will do this. I will take you on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's a good king, you know?
Oh yeah. Fingolfin,
Um,
R.I.P. man.
oh, I gotta say, out of all the kings of the Noldor,
Noldor.
he's probably my favorite so far.
So far, yeah.
Of him being like super loyal and just not sitting back and like turning into one of those kings that are like,
Thingol.
let let's just party all the time and everything's fine, and he's like,
Thingol.
yeah.
Sorry. He's
He's
on my
like, I
list.
want to, yeah. I want to protect my people and my family. And you see Morgoth sending everyone else to do his work, where
Mm-hmm.
this guy is like,
On
I'll
the
do
front
it.
lines. Yeah.
Like, no one else has to die for this war. I want to defeat him if I can, you know.
Yeah.
And he can't.
I can't. Yeah. It's very sad.
Well,
All right.
thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome. Sorry I had to leave you on a sad note.
I know. I just really wish someday some filmmaker makes this scene. Like,
Oh yeah.
that'd be so cool. If even if we get like a flashback in the show, like,
Dude.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That'd be
That'd be
so
amazing.
cool.
Very.
And I
Hmm.
also now want a glittering sword and a
Oh,
shield.
I forgot to tell you about the sword. I couldn't find out a ton about the sword because it's mentioned like this one time, of course. But I imagined it hurting Morgoth because it was like literal ice.
Oh.
Oh, well, not literal. Okay, sorry, not literal ice, but like it had an ice quality to it. So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Ringil means cold or icy. So you know that feeling of being like cold and then I guess it's the opposite, sorry. But like in my head, it felt like, you know, when you're really cold outside and then you go take a hot shower and it burns and it hurts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Or have you
People say
ever accidentally touched dry ice?
yeah. Or when, like, people say they're dying and they're, like, bleeding out and they're like, "I'm really
I'm so
cold."
cold. Yeah.
Like, they don't have that life warmth in them anymore, like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a combination of all of that.
Maybe it is. So yeah, and also it's said to have glittered like blue ice.
Ooh, so cool. Do you think it was,
What if
like,
he
the
made it in the Hellcarax somehow?
yeah. Yeah. And it was, like, full of, like not, like, anger, but kind of, like, that passion of, like, what they had to come together with that,
Yeah.
like, passion of, "We're gonna get through this on the Hellcrax, we'll get to our land," and that's
Yeah.
what was, like, in it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
man.
vengeance, but a nicer word. Determination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
Ooh,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
And he has a
So,
matching sword and shield set.
of course, got
Yeah.
an ensemble.
Uh, so
So,
cool.
yeah. I had to split this week's chapter into two. So, I'm not gonna lie, the next half of the chapter is not that great either.
No. No.
Sorry, no happy endings. This is a Silmarillion. What do you think you signed up for?
Okay. Can't there be, like, a really nice happy story about hobbits?
No.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll
It's
just
like we
have
were
to deal with
spoiled with
all
The
my
Hobbit,
favorite
and then he like
characters
slowly brings
dying.
us down a little bit with the Lord of the Rings, and then like just completely crushes you with the Silmarillion.
Yes. He just has to kill off all my favorite people so far, so
Yep.
that's pretty
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Again, I apologize for my
I'll
super
cut out what I can, but
beautiful voice.
it's
Um,
beautiful.
and my coughing in the background. I'm sorry.
It's
A sister's gotta breathe sometimes, okay?
okay. I hope you guys all had a happy Thanksgiving or Turkey Day.
If you
Gonna have
celebrate, I am just excited for pie. I just want
I'm
pie.
excited for mashed
Oh
potatoes.
my gosh, mashed potatoes.
Mashed
Give me some of that
potatoes.
turkey. I do this really great turkey that's brined with apple cider, and so it's like sweet
Oh.
and salty at the same time. Oh my gosh. When it comes out of the oven, it looks like it's on the cover of Martha Stewart magazine, and it's gorgeous. I love it. So
It's
good.
like the scene with in the Santa Claus when it's
Yeah,
supposed to say on
hey.
TV.
I
Just
have a fire
kidding.
extinguisher. But to all those who celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving break this week and eat lots of good food.
Tell all
Eat
your
all the
family and
pie.
friends about our amazing podcast that you've been listening to.
Yeah.
Make
Um,
sure to look us up on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast.
yes. And we love talking to you guys, so don't be afraid to talk to us and say hey or send us something like if you're proud of like art that you do that's Tolkien themed or something. We can feature you and promote you because we love doing that. um,
Yes.
on our Instagram stories. And tell your friends about us. We've had a lot of people reach out and say, "Hey, I told some of my friends about your podcast and they really love it." And then we see our numbers growing on our review on our podcast, and it's awesome. Like, it's fun to see it grow. So keep that going, you guys. It makes
Yes.
us feel really good.
It does. And I do have to say, other than the US, of course, because the US is the US, Germany is still in the lead, guys. Australia, you need to really kick up your numbers. And the UK, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah. I
He needs kicking
think
all of your butts.
Yeah. I think the like coming from a friend saying like, "Hey, I really like this podcast. I think you like it too," is like the best way to share. So enjoy it with friends. Put it on if you like carpool with a friend or something to work and be like, "Hey, I found this awesome new podcast. We should try it out." And then they'll fall in love with it and then they'll tell their
Of
friends and it'll
course,
just
because
like
we're amazing.
snowball and it'll be awesome.
And what else are you going to do in this downtime that we have between seasons of Rings of Power? I mean,
I know.
What else are you going to do?
I know. Or if you live in
Yes.
places like us when you can't go outside very much during this time of year.
It's so
or when you're
cold.
horribly sick and you just need
that too.
downtime. Last week we had released, so the episode before this one that we're recording, we released our episode with Albert and the Lord of the Rings podcast, and we have a few episodes. We have 3 so far, 3 or 4 episodes with him.
3, and then I did one actually just last Saturday with him, and oh my gosh, Abby, you would have died. We need to have her on the podcast immediately. So her name is Reed, and she is at West Farthing Crochet. You have to all go to her Instagram or Etsy immediately.
West Farthing Crochet.
Correct. She crochets these, I don't want to call them dolls because that's like not even close to how amazing these are. They're all Lord of the Rings themed, crocheted, for lack of a better word, dolls. And the detail, the amount of time and the accuracy of these dolls. So like she has Thorin, she's got Gimli, she's got Legolas, she's got Frodo and Sam, she's got Bilbo, she has freaking Rosie Cotton, y'all.
I know. It's so cute.
The hair is so freaking cute. The details are like spot on. And she just like crochets them all herself. They're amazing. Amazing. So I was able to talk to this wonderful human being with Albert the other day. We will post the episode one of these days. But we will definitely have to have her on the podcast because she's amazing and crafty. And that is our soul right there.
Yeah.
So check her out, West Farthing Crochet. She's on Etsy as well.
Like I was saying before, we have a few episodes with Albert, so if you want to check those out, there's also video of those on his YouTube channel, the Lord of the Rings podcast.
Or the topic, and I've noticed you have to put the topic podcast network. Topic. Yeah.
There's an episode that Ashley got to be on where they interviewed the actress who plays the Dweller from the Rings of Power show. There's one where Ashley talks about what she thinks the new season's going to be about. It's more of the show than the novels that like we're talking about, but it's still awesome. You should check them out. And then in a few weeks, we're going to be on the movie trivia pod episode. TV trivia pod. Sorry. It's a movie. Okay. We did a movie. Anyway.
I know, but when you're searching for things.
Trivia pod.
Yes.
And we'll be on that episode, and that's coming out mid-December. And we'll put that out. This is episode 22. So if you guys have friends that'll be like, they've got a lot of backlog, they can just like, binge all through that and not have to wait on a new episode, because by the time they finish it, there's probably going to be new episodes out. That's awesome how that works. So yeah, check all our friends out on their podcasts. Rate and review our podcast.
Please.
And we love you. Have a great Thanksgiving week, break, day, pie. I don't know.
Happiest of holidays.
Happy second breakfast leftovers that you'll have the next day.
Eat like a hobbit.
Yes. Well,
I'm gonna be eating like a hobbit. Potatoes.
Yes. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. I've been Abby.
And I've been Ashley.
And this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast. And we'll see you later.